Hi, and welcome back to the Ascension Playground. This is Ursi, and I'm doing another free mini reading today, this time for Angel Arielle. Okay, here we go. I'm going to first start with practicing a little bit with the astrology. So here we go, Arielle. I'm going to share my screen. And here is your chart. Okay, so first thing I look at is, wow, what a beautiful ascendant in Cancer. Okay, and you see this word S-I-R? That means the planet Sirius is right here at your ascendant. So there's some aspect of the Galactic that's helping guide your ship, let's say your starship, in this incarnation right now. All right, so that's your ascendant. Then you have a beautiful moon in Taurus in the 11th house, and your sun is in Leo in the 2nd house. All right, now from previous readings, we've seen other people who volunteered to let me take a peek at their chart. Again, we see what's called an intercepted house. An intercepted house. What that means is every sign of the zodiac has 30 degrees. So it's 10, 20, 30, 10, 20, 30, 30 degrees. And within this 30 degrees of Leo, we're seeing the 1st house, a little bit in Leo. Then we've got your 2nd house, and it's fully consumed in Leo. But then the 3rd house starts, also in Leo. So Leo. And then you've got the fixed star Regulus, which is the sign of the lion. He's sitting right here at the very end of your zodiac position of Leo. All right, so your 2nd house, this is the astrology spiel, your 2nd house has been intercepted and basically consumed. And we look across the zodiac wheel and we see that the same is true for your 8th house. See, we see your 7th house here, it's in Capricorn, and then here comes Aquarius, right, starts here. Then Aquarius gets consumed in the 8th house, or the 8th house gets consumed in Aquarius. So what does that mean when we have the 2nd and 8th house of your zodiacal natal chart intercepted? I'm going to pause for that question in a moment, but we see the intercepted house has what we call intercepted planets. And unfortunately, your sun, the greatest light of your whole chart, has also been intercepted in the 2nd house. Okay, and then we look at your Mercury. Your Mercury is also being intercepted in Leo in the 2nd house. Wow, very fascinating. So who you shine your light to be and how you speak in the world have been intercepted. And when you look at how Julia Balaz, oops, let me stop sharing for a minute. When you look at how Julia Balaz teaches her living astrology classes, she'll say like an intercepted house is from a past life where, let's just say you didn't learn the lesson that was set up in that lifetime. That's okay, there's no judgment. But in this lifetime, you've said, well, let me go ahead and make sure I balance the energy. So I like to look at it as neither good or bad. It's just, are you balancing the energy? Okay, so you've got some work to do in this house or in this lifetime with house 2 and house 8. And let me go back to your chart, because not only is it house 2 and house 8, but there's a sign as well. So it's house 2 in the sign of Leo, house 8 in the sign of Aquarius. What does that mean? So I'm going to refer to my notes and I'm going to just tease out some thoughts and you can see if they land or not. Okay, Angel, Arielle? Okay. So in the 2nd house, the lesson to be completed from the past, so you can balance the energy in this lifetime. Let's see if this sounds familiar to you. Do you have trouble stepping out of your comfort zone? That's Taurus, which is the second house ruler. Okay, or that's the flavor of the second house is Taurus. Are you uncomfortable stepping out of your comfort zone? And do you have trouble finding your own self-worth regarding your possessions, your love life, wealth? And then when we go across the wheel, that second house is talking with the 8th house of Scorpio. And so did you also have challenges with your own personal privacy? Was there a loss of privacy in this lifetime? Perhaps the big indicators are early on in your childhood and young adulthood. So when we look then at Leo and what that means to have a second house consumed or intercepted in Leo, here's the question for you. Do you sometimes struggle to speak and express yourself? Creative expression, creativity. This will show up if you've had children. Are there issues? Well, beyond the normal issues, let's say. If you're an artist, do you have trouble expressing your creativity out in the world? Okay, or do you struggle being in groups? Now we're within the Aquarian aspect. So sometimes this struggle, I'm going to stop sharing, just trying to get a sense of what your zodiacal natal chart look like first before we move into the galactic. So it's fascinating how this is maybe the third mini free reading I've given where we're talking about house interceptions. So we're starting with Western astrology just to see what does that runway look like? What did your soul agree to when you stepped in? Let me just take one more peek at that wheel. I just love looking at these charts. Okay, so a Cancer rising, that would really focus on your moon and your moon in Taurus. So when we look over here at this chart, one way to read it is, yes, your sun is in Leo, where it's in what they call domicile. That's in home. You've got a very strong sun in the home of Leo, but it's hidden unless you do the inner work and start expressing yourself and balancing the energy of coming out and showing in groups your creative expression. Let's see what else. Remember I said Cancer is ruled by the moon? Well, the moon in Taurus up here is exalted. You've got a very strong moon. So there's a love, there's a nurturance, there's a comfortability in the 11th house of networks. It's interesting, right? Because here we're talking about the second house. You've got a strong moon, but the sun is hidden. So it's a very interesting duality here, right? Where you might feel comfortable in groups, but are also challenged at the same time. In your Jupiter, it's at home in Sagittarius. So see the word domicile? So let's find your Jupiter. Here it is. It's at home. So you've got a very strong expansion. Oops, gotta pause for a minute. I'm back. Sorry for the pause. Sometimes the phone rings and I forget, oh yeah, I didn't unplug it. Okay, so back to Arielle, Angel Arielle's chart. There's another amazing feature. This is the beauty of looking at charts, and it fills my cup of tea. All right, we talked about over here how there's two major planets, the Sun and Jupiter, both in domicile. What I want to share next is see how you read this, Jupiter in Sagittarius, 29 degrees Sag, 19 minutes. 17 seconds in retrograde. That's what that little R is. So here's Jupiter. Here's the glyph for Jupiter. It's sitting in the 6th house of service. And here it is. Now, the fun thing, I'm going to stop share for a minute, is with that orientation of Jupiter, the largest expansive planet in our solar system going around the sun, it's sitting right next to 27 degrees Sagittarius, the galactic center. So what does it feel like to have the largest planet of expansion, of generosity, of wealth in Sagittarius, its home, sitting right next to the galactic center. It's like Sherlock Holmes. Let me put my little detective's glasses on and say, there's a little clue here that I want to now turn to the galactic aspect of your astrological chart and just see how that might play out, because the tea leaves are looking pretty interesting. Again, here's this idea of Jupiter, expansion planet, in its home sign. So think of the Zeus, the King Zeus, sitting in his home, Olympus, with the galactic center. The galactic center, so we have the Milky Way, right? Here we've got the Milky Way galaxy. And we're thinking about the Milky Way holding all these constellations. Well, the galactic center is the center of the galaxy. Took me a while. Galactic center, Milky Way galaxy, black hole. Okay, and then here's how to embrace that black hole, or at least how I interpret it. You can find your interpretation. Oh, and by the way, did you see I'm wearing my astrology shirt today? And I've got my little biogeometry, little special support here as well. Okay, sorry to digress. So that galactic center, I hold that space of the dark center as the void of pure potentiality. It's where anything that's possible is sitting in that hole. Okay, so artists, it's the zone where, okay, a little bit of this, pull it out of the black, dark hole, think about it, feel into it, and then you can manifest from it. Okay, very interesting. Let me now turn to Angel Arielle's Galactic Starseed Soul Journey. Okay, so here comes my screen. We're back on starseedsastrology.com with the Starseeds report up here. I've clicked on the basic report just to see again where her primary conjunctions and oppositions, in other words, her potential past lives as well as the future lives. This is the interesting thing with quantum. It's non-linear, so it could be past or future. What we find here, very interestingly, let's just first go to her Jupiter line, again in the home of Sagittarius. Look at Ursa Minor, Orion, and the galactic center. These are all going to be expanded and pronounced in your chart, Arielle, okay? And when we scoot up to your Venus in Gemini, which is equal and opposite to your Jupiter, so Sagittarius and Gemini hold an axial grid. You've got the same Orion, Ursa Minor, and the galactic. But let's first go to the big primary question of where did your soul originate? Where did you first come in? And that's usually why when someone asks me, am I Andromedan or not? I go to origin first, because you could have been to Andromeda a lot, but is it really your origin as the beginning place? All right, so we look at her Uranus line in Libra and we see, yes, Arielle, I'm going to make a 99.9% chance statement that yes, you came first in as an Andromedan, 100%. Well, 99.9. Okay. Next, we look at your most recent lifetime in Canis Major, the constellation, and Lyra. So we'll have to go toggle between the two to see if you feel more connected to the Lyran qualities or the qualities that come in from Canis Major. Now look, while we're here, we've got the Palladian support in your vertex. We've got Cetus at your Chiron line. And I think I've covered everything else. Oh, we've got Lepus here at Saturn. All right, if those words and constellations don't mean anything to you, let it go. Focus on what feels right. Many people are starting to learn about Andromedan star seeds. So Arielle, Google Andromedan star seeds. And in fact, I did a little bit of research and I want to share it with you. Let me pause again. Okay, so here we go. I am sharing with you a site called by Debbie Solaris. It's Debbie Solaris, SOLARIS.com. She's a fabulous speaker about a lot of star nations. And if you enjoy Gaia TV, she's been on talking with Regina Meredith and having great conversations about the galactic. All right, here we are. Here is the quintessential picture of Andromeda. She's the chained princess. Here's her chains. We see the fixed star Alpheratz at her hairline. We've got Mirak, Almach, and several others. So in Debbie Solaris's Andromedan constellation information, here's what the stars look like. Here's how it sits in the earth next to Cassiopeia, which was her mother, Perseus, who saved her. When I say her, I mean Andromeda. Okay, so there's lots of information you can learn about Andromeda, but it's basically the princess whose mom bragged too much about her, and so then she became chained so that Cetus could come and eat her. Cetus at that time was the water monster. Today, Cetus is the whale. Okay, so Perseus saves her. So that's the basic story of Andromeda. Now I want to point out there's an Andromeda constellation, which we're looking at, but there's also an Andromedan galaxy. Whenever you see Andromeda galaxy in your soul charts with Julia Balaz, it's very different than the constellation. Okay, so let's see. Here's where Debbie Solaris talks about the Andromeda galaxy. But when we look at the Andromeda constellation, we see that Alpheratz is the brightest star within that constellation. Now, I don't want you to get too freaked out, but here's some of the, galactic paintings done by a woman named Vashta Nereda, and it talks a little bit more about what some of the features and qualities are of the Andromeda race. Not to freak you out anymore, but here's some more pictures, okay? And I'm trying to scroll down to this part about the Andromedan star seeds. All right, here we go. The biggest takeaway that I read from the Andromedans is there aren't too many on the planet. Okay, she says, regarding star seeds on Earth, there are less Andromedan souls incarnated here than beings from other star systems in our Milky Way galaxy, with the exception of perhaps Arcturian star seeds, who are small in number. Okay, so if this is a mind bender for anyone tuning in or just dropping in for the first time, the fixed stars carry the mythos from our ancient past here on Earth. There's the Greek mythology, the Roman mythology, there's Babylonian, myth, there's indigenous myth about the stars. Now we're going into another place of, they're not just fixed stars, but there's a whole galactic heritage around our cosmos. And one of the best writers about our galactic heritage is a woman named Lissa Royal Holt. Her book is called The Prism of Lyra. And you start reading that without like the creepy ET alien stuff. She basically says, this is what happened. And then this happened. Oh, and then they didn't learn their lesson, so they went off to try to learn the lesson on this planet. Still didn't learn it, so they came to Earth. And Earth is kind of this living school of energy that wasn't balanced, either in previous star nations and other galaxies even. So it's this whole idea of narrative. We're here to expand. Our soul wants to grow. How do we do that? We need friction. And the friction sometimes shows up, or oftentimes shows up, as the uncomfortable things we call karma, or we call difficult lessons. Sometimes we're the good guy, sometimes we play the bad guy, but we're still, if we get out of the judgment, we're just trying to learn how to expand our energy through experiences. Well, I hope that wasn't too much for you. Let me go ahead and go back to the screen. Here we go. I'm going to move now to the Star Seeds Astrology chart into more of the extended report. Sounds like I got a little frog in my throat for a bit. Okay, Arielle, I know this is a mini, and I hope you don't mind me going a little longer, but holy macaroni, look at your connections. All right, remember how we started to look for where did you come from, the origin? And we saw in the shortened version, or the short version, it was Andromeda. But see how Andromeda, so where specifically in Andromeda? Your homework assignment, if you choose to do so, would be look up the Alpheratz. That's the brightest shining star in Andromeda. It's sitting opposite your Uranus. But just Google Alpheratz star seeds, plural. And you're going to be surprised at how much information is online. Look at the qualities and traits, the personality traits. This is where you originated using this matrix. And then look at how many other times Andromeda shows up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Geez, 6. It's like boom, boom, boom. Let's see, what next do I want to share? Oh, then we looked at your most recent lifetime, and we found that it was either between Lyra or Canis Major. This is one where because you have 2 potential recent lifetimes, we have to use the orb. And so 55 minutes, 0 degrees is closer to your ascendant than 2 degrees, 7 minutes conjunction through Canis Major. So I'm going to go with you may resonate with the Lyran personality, qualities, and traits above all of this galactic traveling. Okay, so second assignment for homework would be look up Lyran star seeds with a particular focus on vegans, not vegan, vegans, vegans. There you go. But see, that doesn't really tell your whole story, because quantum soul guidance, my goodness, I'm going to give you a prescription for you to take now or later. Consider entering Julia Balaz's class just so you can learn about your own history. Look at this. You've got galactic centers. You've got Stargate portals. I mean, there's so many places you've been. Here's the Andromeda Galaxy. See, GLX is galaxy. And then when it's just the constellation, it's Andromeda. And here's sextiling the fixed star Almach to your midheaven in Pisces in the 10th house. So my goodness, you're like the poster child of so much is here. You're the kitchen sink. Look, this is a portal, the Ring Nebula of Lyra, another Ring Nebula. I just look here. There's something going on too with Orion and your history with the fixed star Rigel. That would be another fun one to look at. Anyway, I'm going to stop sharing. I hope I didn't overwhelm you. Your chart just has so much in it. So I want to thank you. Thank you. I know we went a little longer than normal. You're helping me practice, and my throat's getting a little because I just get so like, oh, and then there's this and this and this. So enjoy wherever you're at. Only pick up whatever feels right and resonates with you, and leave the rest. And that idea of the intercepted houses, your 2nd house with your 8th house. If you have trouble speaking up and saying, hey, here I am, and this is my stuff, I have a right to express my needs, then so be it. But if not, you've already checked the box and figured that out, great, move on. You have so much. Anyway, if you're interested in Julia's courses, they're online at starseedsteachable.com. Okay, everybody, bye for now, and see you next time on the Ascension Playground. Bye.